Thomas Gainsborough, the painter who loved landscapes more than crowds. Thomas Gainsborough, English portrait and landscape painter, celebrated for luminous portraits such as the Blue Boy and for helping to invent an English school of landscape painting. Thomas Gainsborough was born in Sudbury, Suffolk, in 1727 and baptized on May 14 of that year. He spent his childhood roaming fields and river meadows, sketchbook in hand, and that early devotion to the countryside never left him. As a teenager he went to London to learn his trade with engravers and decorative artists, then returned to East Anglia to paint local gentry. By the 1750s he had established a practice and a modest reputation as a portraitist and landscape draftsman. In the 1740s and 1750s Gainsborough's prospects rose slowly but steadily. He married Margaret Burr in 1746. Her annuity helped to sustain the family while he learned to balance the delicate demands of commissioned portraiture with a private obsession for landscape. Around 1750 he painted Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, a double portrait that is also a wide, vivid study of English farmland. That painting, equal parts family likeness and landscape, remains one of his most celebrated works and is now in the National Gallery, London. In 1759 Gainsborough moved to Bath, the fashionable spa where patrons congregated and successful portraitists flourished. Bath widened his circle of wealthy clients and brought commissions that allowed him to refine a flattering, animated portrait style. Still, he could not hide his preference for country life. In a letter from this period he confessed, "I'm sick of portraits and wish very much to take my viol de gamba and walk off to some sweet village where I can paint landscapes," a line that reveals his wish to escape the demands of fashionable sitters and return to music and nature. He owned several viols and was an enthusiastic amateur musician. Gainsborough's technique married speed to subtlety. He applied paint quickly and with confidence, using a light palette and loose, economical brushstrokes that could capture both the sheen of a satin sleeve and the shimmer of a distant hedge. He was inventive about materials and display. He experimented with printmaking, devised a small showbox to view backlit landscape compositions, and, according to entertaining contemporary accounts, assembled tiny studio models from mirrors, stones, lumps of coal and even vegetables to test how shapes read as trees and hills. Those experiments were not mere eccentricities, they served a single aim, finding the most truthful, poetic way to render light and atmosphere. By the late 1760s Gainsborough had achieved national recognition. He was invited into the circle that founded the Royal Academy in 1768–69, an institutional acknowledgement of his importance, even though he quarreled at times with the Academy over exhibitions and the hanging of pictures. He used his public exhibitions both to secure commissions and to show that portraiture and landscape could live happily together in the same artist's practice. One of his most theatrical successes, The Blue Boy, was shown at the Royal Academy in 1770 and remains an emblem of Gainsborough's bravura, a costume piece and a painterly demonstration at once. That painting later entered a famous American collection and helped cement his international reputation. It is among the images that have kept his name alive beyond his native Britain. At home Gainsborough was quietly domestic. He taught his daughters Mary and Margaret to draw and paint. The tender family portraits that result are intimate counterpoints to his grandees' commissions. He could be frank and mordant in private, mocking pretension, fretting about money and praising honest observation, yet courteous and winning in society. He described his own practice with candor: portraits put bread on the table, landscapes fed his soul. In 1774 he moved to London and took a studio at Schomburg House on Pall Mall. There he mixed with the cultural elite, accepted high-profile commissions, and continued to push technical boundaries, etching, aquatint, and subtle manipulations of tone, while keeping the countryside close in memory and in paint. His later landscapes show a mastery of weather and mood. The sky or a bank of trees becomes the emotional subject as much as any figure. Illness ended his career in 1788. He died on August 2, surrounded by friends and family, and stories from his final hours record a single small invocation of the past, an utterance of admiration for Van Dyck, that, true or apocryphal, reveals how he measured himself against older masters even while he made something unmistakably his own. What did Gainsborough leave? He loosened the grammar of British portraiture so that character and setting could speak together. He helped give landscape a place of honor in British art, and he left a clutch of paintings, Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, The Blue Boy, The Painter's Daughters, that remain among the clearest routes into 18th-century taste, fashion and feeling. He showed that paint could flatter and also tell the truth about light, weather and human tenderness. Small anecdotes convey his temperament. He painted quickly to catch a fleeting light, he composed landscapes from clever studio contraptions, he paused between sittings to play music. He painted portraits to earn a living and landscapes because he could not help himself. That tension between commerce and calling gives his work its forward motion and its warmth. Stand before a Gainsborough and you will notice the tiny, beloved details, the ripple of a sleeve, the turn of a head, the way a distant ridge absorbs sunlight, and you will understand why his paintings continue to move viewers. They are, at once, portraits of people and portraits of a country's light.